Welcome all to Gunning to Old Trafford on Wow. We are so excited today, all the way up north, USA, Tampa, Florida.
Amazing stuff.
Wow, amazing stuff. Ibrahim, I'm going to pass it on to Ibrahim to do all the introductions. Well done, wow.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. Remember, Gunning to Old Trafford's got you covered across all the social media platforms. We'll drop the links in the bio. But I don't want to waste too much time jumping straight into Devon Walker.
Uh-huh.
Devon, welcome to Gunning to Old Trafford, and thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you so much for having me on. It feels weird to actually be called up north. That threw me off for a little bit. Yeah, I got to remember that. No, yeah, so much. Thank you so much for having me on. It's definitely a great honor for you to even think of wanting to bring me on. I'm definitely looking forward to this interview a lot.
No, 100%. Thank you.
So much.
So Devon, obviously, like Abdul said, all the way from Tampa, a question that I think, we get asked a lot as football fans in South Africa is, how did we get introduced to Manchester United and Arsenal respectively? So as an American fan, how did you get introduced to Manchester United? And and where did your love for this club begin?
All right, so with me, my story is a little bit different. Born in New York, lived up there. My family is actually originally from Barbados. That's where I lived as a kid. I went to school there as well too. So the time when I was living there, this is 98 World Cup. It's a whole big deal because Jamaica is in the World Cup.
Yeah.
And we were sitting here like, oh, there's actually a West Indian nation that made it to the World Cup. Like, this is amazing. And so there's such a big craze now going on about football in the West Indies, because obviously you will know this, that in the West Indies, the sport that we care about most is cricket.
Oh, brilliant.
And we love cricket.
Back when we had a decent side, not what we have now. But anyway, yeah, so that was all the craze. But the fact that a country from the West Indies made it, and it's like, wow, this is gonna be cool. So you had the entire Caribbean rooting for the Reggae Boys, thinking it was gonna be something great. They didn't make it far, but we were just happy to see them there.
Yeah.
And I started seeing how it brought the whole world together. I mean, and this is 98, so this is not like when we can do how everybody's on their phones can watch it. They're all huddled around little TVs. Everybody's trying to watch the games, listening to radios and whatnot. And I'm like, you know what? This seems like an awesome sport. I need to look more into it. Come to find out, Manchester United had just got a player from nearby Trinidad.
Oh,
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Right,
Yes.
I love it.
And so it's like, oh no, this team has that. And then all of a sudden, obviously, I had heard about David Beckham. Well, I didn't really know that much about him. All I knew about this at the time when I knew the Spice Girls, and I'm like, oh, David Beckham, and oh, he's dating a Spice Girl. Oh, and they have a guy from Trinidad. This needs to be my team.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Next year they win the treble, and I'm like, yeah, yeah,
This is
this
definitely
is my team. Exactly.
Amazing. You know what, Ibrahim, Devon, it sounds like one of the most famous and my favorite movie. Remember Cool Runnings? How amazing was
Yes.
Cool Runnings? You remember Cool Runnings?
So all
man, brilliant.
Whole movie. Obviously, feel the rhythm, feel the vibes. Get on out. It's bobsled time. Cool running. Yes. Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
I mean, that was one of the movies we grew up watching
Yes,
in South
yes.
Africa. I know we digress, but I mean, it was amazing. And Devon, I mean, we've got similar stories. For us, it was the '94 World Cup. Youngsters growing up in South Africa. South Africa just coming out of apartheid, so not having an international team there, and then getting introduced to football, and then seeing South Africa qualify for the '98 World Cup, so similar to you, and not knowing that they're not going to go really far, but just having that vibe of the World Cup, I think just puts that love as a kid in you, so that's amazing stuff.
Can I ask you guys one question now, especially being from South Africa? What was it like when Shabalala scored that goal in 2010? How was that?
It was majestic. It was wow, man. I don't even think we saw the highlights after. It was just everybody just jumped and we were like all over one another. And wow, Shabalala! Wow.
And I remember.
And I mean,
I remember that goal as if it's happening now in front of me. We
Yes.
we didn't get a chance to go to the opening game. Tickets were sold out, but we all gathered at a fan park about
Amazing.
40 k's away from our place, and the park was buzzing. There must have been over 5,000 people in the park. And when Shabalala hit that ball, the noise that erupted and that was on for the next, what,
Yeah,
20, 30 minutes
Yeah, it
was
was amazing.
unreal. It was amazing.
Why did you
I
bring
remember
that up?
watching from the States and thinking how epic that goal was.
It
And
was.
like, I mean, it was, I think it was Peter Drury. We
Yeah.
said like a commentary said like goal for South Africa, goal for all of Africa, and even in the States. I had chills from thinking that and like seeing how epic that must be to score that, like score for South Africa in your home ground and
Oh, it
all
was
that and that
amazing.
celebration. I still see people doing the celebration to this day.
You won't believe I've got goosebumps now, man. Honestly
David,
speaking.
you're bringing back some old school
Oh
feelings here
man,
for us.
brilliant stuff, man.
The only South African goal that would probably rival Shabalala's goal for me as a South African football fan was a
97.
player, and may he rest in peace, a striker called Phil Masinga, and he scored an absolute cracker to get us qualified for the 1998 World Cup. So we'll drop a link.
We'll send it to you.
We'll send you a link, and you can have a look. So those are the two all-time best goals.
Amazing, yes.
And
For South Africa.
also having a South African now at Manchester United just makes it even more amazing. With Benny McCarthy. There. So brilliant stuff.
Didn't you have Quentin Fortune for a while as well?
Quentin Fortune,
Quentin as a player,
Yeah.
but now we've got Benny there in the coaching, and he's
Yes,
helping
and he's
Rashford
doing
get back
a
to-
great job as well too.
Exactly.
Yes.
Amazing.
Brilliant stuff.
Mhm.
Okay, Devin, moving along, right? So a question, we're gonna break it up in two parts, right?
Mhm.
Let the Gunning to Old Trafford community know. Do you remember your first ever Manchester United televised game? That's the first part of the question. And obviously, you up in Tampa, Florida, USA. I mean, a different time zone. How do you navigate with the UK times of matches? It must be difficult as well.
I'm trying to think now because back when I was watching, especially at the time when I was getting into it, was in the Caribbean. We got a lot more of the radio broadcasts that were going, depending on which match was. But it was only like we maybe only got like one match a weekend over the entire Premier League. They started introducing pay-per-views where you could watch some pay-per-view games, watch some of the games that way too. I'm trying to think, but football like truly did not really pick up here in the States until probably like 2005, 2006 is when it started picking up. I'd say a lot of traction there. But before that, if you wanted to watch the games, you had to listen to radios. You had to get these dodgy online subscriptions. You had to do the pay-per-view games and whatnot. So I really cannot remember my first live one. I remember listening to the radio broadcast as well when I was a kid. As far as the time difference, for example, tomorrow's game, the Derby, is at 7:30 our time, 7:30 a.m. So it's not bad.
7:30 in the morning.
It's not bad. Like all the matches here, the latest I've ever seen a game here was 2 p.m.
Okay.
But normally they go between 7:30 and 12:30 for kickoffs. So navigating that is not difficult at all.
Oh,
Okay, brilliant.
stuff,
So I mean,
man.
that's not difficult. And I mean, even
Now,
a Wednesday night football-
however, if you go to the other like LA,
Yeah.
they're 3 hours behind us.
Ooh,
So
so
with
tomorrow
that-
morning it's a 4:30 kickoff.
So tomorrow's is 4:30 in the morning. So that's where it gets a little
A little bit tricky.
yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
So I mean, I noticed that you follow the guys Adam and Dean as well from Man Cave United
Yes,
and
yes.
Worldwide Raids. So we did an interview with them last week, and they're obviously based out in Australia, and their time zone is the other way around. So
Correct.
when there's like a 5 p.m. kickoff, South African time, which is probably 3 p.m. UK
3
time.
PM, yeah.
It's close to like midnight or just past midnight in Australia. So I think they got it a bit rough.
That'll be a 10 a.m. kickoff for us. So yeah.
Okay.
But it's amazing how this entire community just comes together
Man.
to love Manchester
You know,
United and to just love good
it's something
football.
like, especially like I've heard all the times I've gone to Manchester, a bunch of times when I first went, I would always hear local fans saying that you're not a real fan. Like, no, you got to come, you got to grow up, and you got to be with this. So I'm like, if I'm waking up, there's people like in Asia, whatever, that waking up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning to watch the games and still going to work on no sleep, everything like that. Like, don't bring that excuse. And these people probably know more about the club than you do. It's insane. But I've seen less of that now than when I first started going over there. So I guess like it's starting to realize how big a global brand it is and how
Yep.
the fans are coming in. They are truly passionate for it. They're not just coming there just to do it for the gram. Like they're coming there to actually see their team.
Exactly, and it's costing them a big amount of money to
Yes,
get there, right?
yes,
So,
yes.
100%.
Yeah, it's not cheap for me to get over it. I will definitely
I
say
can
that.
imagine it. I mean,
Yeah.
Devin, just to put it into perspective, as South African fans, our currency conversion to the UK pound is now close to 22 rand to the pound and around 1750 to the US dollar. So we really feel it when we travel across, which is brutal, man. So anyway, so brilliant
man.
stuff. Love it. And what Devin is saying, with the radio broadcast, Abdul, if you remember, Dr. Berry,
Yes,
Uncle Yunus
Yunus
Chamda, they all. So Devin, these are the guys that grew up watching Manchester United in the 50s and the 60s that we interviewed. And just like you, they started, listening to Manchester United on a shortwave system in South Africa. So, this is bringing back some of those
Amazing,
memories
man.
as well.
Absolutely amazing.
So, Devin, like we said, off air, we browsed through your profile. We did a bit of stalking, so sorry about that.
No problem. No problem.
And we noticed that you've been to Old Trafford a few times, or a number of times, to watch Manchester United live. How's that experience of being at Old Trafford or watching Manchester United live, whether it's at home games or away games? And you touched on it, the change in attitude from local fans from before to what it is now. So just if you could sum up your experience traveling out to watch Manchester United live.
Oh, I can tell you, like the first time that I stepped foot in Old Trafford, like I got goosebumps.
Wow.
Because you talk about it, you see it on TV, and you're like, and it was a lifelong dream for me at the time to say eventually I have to get here. And I got there before I was 20.
Oh,
Like,
brilliant.
like paid for it all myself, like saved up, went and everything. And so like to get there and do that, even at 20, and I knew right away, like, oh, I'm home. Like I'm home.
Ah, man, it's beautiful,
And
man.
you get in there and like as you're walking down the Munich tunnel and you're seeing they're paying homage to the people in the past, like you feel the presence. You feel the presence of all the legends and all the giants who came through there before. And like when you walk out, like when you walk, well, normally I sit in the Sir Bobby Charlton stand. So
Ooh.
when you walk up those steps and you get that first glimpse at looking at that perfectly manicured pitch and everything too, and you get the goosebumps and you're thinking like, oh man, yeah, this is it.
I'm here.
The one thing that like I will say, which this may be controversial, yeah, it looks incredible on TV. But like the stands, the concourses inside, they're very narrow, they're very old. They desperately need like work done to them. Like you'll see fans like at halftime, like they have little TVs that are probably no bigger than 32 inches, and you have all the fans in that section. They're trying to like go in there and watch the highlights as you can. There's always long lines to get like if you want to get any pies. You also, did you know that you can't have alcohol within eyesight of the pitch in the UK?
You can't have alcohol?
So if you're gonna drink alcohol, you have to drink it in the concourse. You can't have it within eyesight of the pitch.
You serious?
So it's like, so imagine that you're trying to get your beers and whatnot and have a drink. You got it down in at halftime after waiting in that line to hope that you can get so you don't miss any action as well. But that's across the UK, and that's due to the hooliganism in the 80s and everything like that. So that's not just an Old Trafford thing, but it desperately needs modifications done to it. Like I can tell you that from being there. What I will say though, like it seems like I actually prefer going to away games though. Now that I've been through the whole matches so much, and the reason being is that the away fans, those are the hardcore ones. Those are the ones where like you don't stop singing the entire match. You're trying to outsing the rest of the grounds. You leave your voice as hoarse, everything as well too, and you got to go in like you. And as you're walking in the ground, you got to cover up your jacket. You got to wear a jacket or something. Or can't show any United colors. Like don't give anything away. So it's like you're walking in there like and then they hold you in the ground afterwards. So a bunch of the away fans a bunch of the home fans can clear out first. So there's no disruption, confusion, things like that. But it is absolutely incredible. However, I will make an exception to that. When I was at Old Trafford for Ronaldo's second homecoming.
Ooh,
And
wow.
I had
That's
not heard Old
amazing.
Trafford like that. I had not heard Old Trafford like that in years.
Oh,
And it
man.
was like this was the Old Trafford I remember, because obviously since Sir Alex retired, it's not been the best of memories.
Yep.
I've been to a few games since, been to a couple Champions Leagues, been to a couple Premier Leagues as well. And it
Beautiful.
didn't seem like you had some people chanting, you had some sections trying to chant. I remember one time I was trying to chant, and I had somebody from behind tell me, "Sit down, we want to watch the match."
Oh,
What? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
And I'm sitting there and I'm stunned.
Yeah,
I
so
mean, this
they
this
don't
this,
want to
per,
create
this, per, this
atmosphere.
person was not British. This person was not British, but I was just more so like, so you came all this way to watch Old Trafford just to get photos to say you're here,
yeah.
Yeah,
and I got upset about that, and I was like, no, you come here, you're this is your team, like this
exactly. You
this is my
scream
life,
till
this
you
is your
have
team,
no voice.
you're chanting and all that, but I can tell you, Ronaldo's return, it was not like that at all.
No, brilliant
Wow.
stuff.
Wow.
So just
Wow.
four things, and I'm sorry, Abdul, I'm just going to
Sure.
run
Go for
with
it.
this
Go
a
for it.
bit.
Go for it.
As you spoke, so you spoke about the Munich tunnel, and I've been privileged to go to Old Trafford once, and it was Manchester United, Chelsea, when Louis van Gaal was our coach and Mourinho was Chelsea's coach. And the amount of abuse that Jose Mourinho got from the Manchester United fans, especially when RVP put in the last minute equalizer, was amazing.
Yeah.
So then, the Munich tunnel, post the game, a day after the game, I decided to go to Old Trafford and just take in, the atmosphere and stuff. And I'm walking down the Munich tunnel and I hear a voice pop out. And, you say you have a feeling of legends and, the history of the club. But as I turn around, it's Brian Robson.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Robbo is awesome. Robbo is
Amazing.
such a is like it's great because he's a legend, but he's also a fan, and he
Exactly.
makes time for anybody. He makes time for
100%.
anybody. Like
Yeah.
absolute class. Like I
He
respect him so much.
probably he probably gave me 10 to 15 minutes of his
Wow.
time
Wow.
just explaining, where I'm coming, because he saw me with the South African flag and, like you say, amazing, and gives the time of day to any fan that's available. So brilliant stuff from him.
Let me see if I can pull up a picture. I actually watched in Dallas. I watched Manchester United versus Liverpool. Sat next to him and Andy Cole. So
Oh
that
my
yeah.
goodness.
Don't lie, Devon. Wow.
That's amazing.
I'm trying to think. Did I put that on my Instagram? I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh, man. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Brian
let me see if I
Robson
can.
and Andy Cole.
You mean?
If you can see it.
Oh yes, there's Andy Cole.
There's Andy Cole.
Love it.
Wow, Devon.
Oh,
What
love
a
it.
Yeah,
fit, man.
it was pretty awesome. Like sitting here on the couch taking selfies with
Oh,
them and whatnot.
Yeah.
Even Brian Robson even gave a shout out to the local league that I play in as well. My local Sunday semi-pro league when I was playing at the time. The guys asked for a shout out, so we did that. He was so nice about it, everything too.
Oh,
No, that's
brilliant
amazing.
stuff, man. Brilliant.
So Devon, I mean, you're somewhat of a celebrity fan, right? I mean, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Andy Cole and Brian Robson, and the list probably goes on, right? Because I've seen, you appeared on BBC giving your inputs on Ronaldo leaving Manchester United. You've been on MUTV. You spoke about the Premier League show, etc. What's it like talking about Manchester United to the world, essentially? And does it give you a certain extra goosebumps or a little bit more feels that you're getting to talk on live television, world television, about the club that you love?
What I will say is Manchester United is my life. It's one thing, like from growing up when I got hooked instantly, and there was one mantra that I always took from United: never say die. We'll never die. Always find a way. We keep moving on, and I use that in all aspects of my life now, and I got all that from Manchester United, like that motivation, the drive, all that, like me wanting to. I use that even just as motivation to go to Old Trafford the first time. Always talked about as a kid, and I said, no, I'm going. I gotta go. Find a way. Never say die. Do not quit, and you go from there. The part that amazes me the most is that apparently I must be doing something right, because I would have instantly thought they would have wanted a Brit or somebody from there to be the one giving these opinions, and they're reaching out to somebody who has never lived a day in the UK, who's only lived between the US and Barbados, and they're reaching out to me for this. So it's definitely something that's amazing. But I love it now because I get to share my passion for the club to the world.
That's amazing.
Wow,
And
that's
so,
Devin,
and to
you
me,
need to give us some
that is
tips.
something that I can never take away, and that's something that it brings joy to me. So if I can share a little bit of my love with the club for everybody else, and people are willing to hear that story, or apparently people think that I matter enough to want to air it out there like that, who am I to say no?
No, 100%. And Devin,
brilliant, man.
off air, you need to give us some tips on how we can, get to that point as well. Because to talk about Manchester United with people like you
amazing.
and, other guests that we had on the show is such an honor and
Yeah.
such an amazing experience. But to do it to the whole world, I mean, that's on a
It's a
different
But you
level.
want to know,
So
it's
big up.
kind of it's kind of interesting how that worked out because I also did a lot of stuff with the Manchester United USA Supporters Club. I know the guy who founded it. He founded it over 30 years ago, still runs it and whatnot. And one thing with the people who air the Premier League here in the US, NBC Sports, they always say they wanted, like, this is in the beginning when they were first taking over, they were always asking people to submit pictures and whatnot, like where they're watching the games and stuff like that. And all I was doing is on Twitter every week, I was sending in pictures and stuff like this. And all of a sudden I was getting on TV a lot more. And this was just like, I thought it was just like a fluke. And then all of a sudden they started getting more, they started like airing it more and more just because I was constantly sending photos in. Then next, people started asking me, how are you on there so much? And I'm like, this is all I did. I sent the pictures in, I used the hashtag, got on. And it's funny because my friends started doing it and then they started getting on like crazy. And I guess the word got out from that. But because of that, I managed to actually get to know the presenters pretty well. Like next weekend, they're doing a live broadcast in Orlando, and so I'll be going there and I'll get to see the presenters again. But it's pretty awesome. Like when in a whole group of fans, you can see like, well, I don't know if you know who Rebecca Lowe is or not. She's like the face of football in the U.S. But it's pretty awesome when in the crowd she sees me and goes, "Oh, hi, Devin."
Oh,
So like
wow.
that's pretty cool now to get to that level. One thing that and then I think it all kicked off when they wanted to do a profile on my fandom. And so they asked me to send in pictures and different things and whatnot. And I remember this one thing, and this is always so true. I said it then and I'll say it now. If it was not for Manchester United, I would not have my wife right now.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow.
I love it.
And the only reason we met is because we were going to a bar here to watch the matches. And so we met there, started chatting, and we realized they could be something.
Two lovers together.
Exactly. And so they loved it. They ran with it. And then they did a follow-up special on me when I took her to Old Trafford for her first match, which happened to be Ronaldo's homecoming.
Oh, love it. Love it.
So it was pretty cool to get that.
So we've got about 10
BBC
minutes left. Sorry, David. We've just got about 10 minutes left. We just want to push through some of the questions that have come up. But in the second segment, we'll definitely pick up on a lot of the stuff as well. So you made a mention about the supporters club. We've met and we were privileged to have an interview with Dr. Barry Schmeiser. He's the chairperson of the Manchester United Supporters Club in South Africa and a walking encyclopedia of Manchester United. I definitely will set up a discussion between you and Dr. Barry, or we'll try to do it because you guys will enjoy having the back and forth.
And Ibrahim, he visits America quite a bit.
He comes here quite a bit, exactly. So Devin, he gave us a bit of insights on how the South African Supporters Club got involved, but what's your guys' involvement when Manchester United are touring? And are there any special preparations that you guys need to do to welcome the ambassadors and the players for all of these tours to the US?
Well, so whenever the next tour comes to the US, we usually will get notified ahead of time. They'll ask us to reach out to whether it's local chapters or whatnot, asking if there's any places where they meet normally to try to do like an event between supporters like that. We usually get sometimes depending on whoever the promoters of the tour, they'll give us tickets as well, maybe like 4 or 5 per match, so we can get tickets in for free basically. Because one of the issues that I have with preseason games here in the US, and I've stated this before, I've gone and seen Premier League matches at Old Trafford that cost me less than what it costs to watch a preseason match.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, man.
But I suppose
it's like I've gone to Manchester derbies for £50, and they want like $130, $140 to sit in the top levels here to watch maybe 3/4 of the starters play for 15 minutes. Yeah, and so I have it's one thing where I have issues with preseason tours for that very very reason. What I do like about it though is when you go and you get to bond with the supporters who come from all across the country, sometimes across the world, people you don't normally see. That's the stuff that I enjoy the most out of it. But it feels to me like I get ripped off on those tickets. However, the promoters respond with, not everybody can afford to buy the airfare and hotel, so we can charge a little bit more on the tickets. That's what happens when you live in a capitalist society like this. But I'm not a fan of it, but it is what it is. Another example, last year, are you familiar with the I Love United events that they do?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So like that picture that I showed you was in Dallas, and that was one of those events.
Wow.
We just had one in Miami last year, and they brought Diego Forlan and Andy Cole back for that.
Oh, brilliant.
Nice.
Yeah, it was about, they actually asked me to, they want to do a meet and greet before for the fans of the local supporters club. So I had to organize. I got about 1 week's notice to get it done.
Oh,
and just what I will say is, thank God that my best friend was the GM of the bar within that. So the week before, I went down there, spoke with him, told him what was going on. They cleared out the entire schedule for it.
okay.
They also sent me 30 of last season's kits to give out to people there to wear at the event.
Yeah, and I seen that was the event that you then appeared on MUTV as well, right?
Yes, so that was that event. It was pretty cool to get it done with that short notice, and the bar loved it because they're on exposure. They just got exposure to millions of people around the world. The fans loved it because this is time for them to get to meet local heroes, and especially in Miami with Diego Forlan and his heroics in the 2010 World Cup. You know, he loved that. What was it? The Jabulani?
The
Jabulani.
Yes, the Jabulani.
Amazing for
it was awesome for people to get to hear those stories, get to hang out with Andy Cole, and like just different events like that. And so through the supporters club, I get access to legends, people I grew up watching, and I get to speak with them directly and things like this. And it's something that I never take away.
Man.
The next time Devon is hosting a show in the US, we need to fly out to the US, man. So we can rub shoulders with these guys as well. Devon, you're gonna have to host us as well, yeah?
You're gonna have to.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely come. Yeah, just let me know when you're coming.
You know, Devon, just a quick story before I think we don't even. Do you know Matt Turner, the Arsenal goalkeeper?
Yes.
Talked about his first love for the game was also the 2010 World Cup. And it was, I mean, your start as well. And he talks about 98. No, sorry, the 2010 World Cup.
2010.
He talks about the 2010 World Cup, and you're talking about Chabalala and Jabulani, and a lot of the USA players really focus on the 2010 because you guys had such a good team. Landon Donovan, you guys had wow, amazing players. So yeah, brilliant stuff. Devon, moving along, I don't know how much time we have. Right?
No, I think we've got time for a few more questions.
The Glazers. So their ownership and running of the team or the club has been heavily criticized. What's your view on the Glazers? And obviously, is the perception of them running the club very different in the US?
So my opinion of the Glazers will be one where if you're not willing to invest in the team, if you're just taking dividends out, you're not putting anything, you're not benefiting, that you're not doing anything to help the team go along, bring somebody else in who can do it. It's Old Trafford needs to be modernized. Carrington needs to be modernized, has not been modernized since it first opened, if I remember that. Or I think they did a little modernization of both right before they took over. They've not invested into that. It's not a good look when you try to replace Cristiano Ronaldo with Gabriel Obertan. It's not a good look when you bring in an investment banker to run a club with no experience. I will say the perception to me, I don't know them. The perception to me is that they care more about the commercial and marketing aspect than what they put on the pitch. I can tell you right now, I live in Tampa, Florida. I've never met them. We've tried to reach out. We've tried to have different events with them, try to have them come out. Got nothing.
Are you serious?
So I've seen them at Tampa Bay Buccaneers games. Try to ask them questions, like try to ask anything. Nothing.
That's
nothing.
ridiculous.
Oh man,
that's ridiculous.
And I can tell you, but it's in Tampa. It's funny because before Tom Brady came here, the Buccaneers fans thought they put all their money into Manchester United.
Oh,
and I laughed. and I laughed. And I said, if you only knew. So I am hoping right now that these talks of a sale are legitimate. I'm hoping a sale does come through soon, and I'm hoping that we can get that United back to where it needs to be. Because I'm sorry, you buy a club on leverage debts, and the first thing that you do is you put all your debts into that. Now, I think the dad had potentially the right ideas, Malcolm Glazer, with it, because they still had a fairly decent amount of success under him. When he passed away, and then it was also kind of coincided with David Gill and Sir Alex leaving the club. It went on to the kids, and the kids, I don't think they had that same passion that he did. I do think the dad cared, but I'm still not a fan of the way that he took over the club. And so I do think that kind of was very detrimental to us in the end. But now that we're at a point where there's a sale coming, it's like I said before, we'll never die.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, the mantra of getting to Old Trafford is Glazers out now, Glazers out forever. You know, so you know, whatever the intentions were, it just seems that, you know, they've run the course with Manchester United, and like you said, hoping that whatever, you know, talks are around the sale are legitimate, and that we see them move on with a handsome profit and pass over Manchester United to owners or ownership model that really wants to invest and see Manchester United grow.
And above all else, and what I want to see, like, I want whoever takes over the club, I would like Sir Jim Ratcliffe to be brought into it some way as a part owner or something like that.
Even as an advisor, that would be brilliant.
Who understands both the business aspect and the fan, because he's a lifelong fan. He was at the Camp Nou in 1999, like cheering on United as well, and so he gets both worlds, so he can be that link between the two.
100%.
So that is what I'm hoping, because I don't want somebody who's just in it just for the zeros and that and doesn't care. I want somebody who's truly passionate about the club to take over.
100%. But the decline of success at Manchester United obviously started also, like you said, when Sir Alex and David Gill, because I think a lot of people forget that David Gill left at the same time. So Sir Alex and David Gill leaving at the same time. Do you feel that, you know, it started off because of the wrong decision to bring in someone like David Moyes, and that was, you know, more like a heartstrings type of decision as opposed to a more rational decision, because you had the likes of Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho at his prime, ready to come in at Manchester United?
If I remember correctly, Sir Alex actually had dinner with Pep before, because I think this was right around the time when he was leaving Barcelona and whatnot, and we were, all the United fans were thinking, okay, yeah, we're gonna get him, and they had this dinner, and I think Sir Alex said, like, before you do anything, please contact me first. He ended up taking the Bayern Munich job, if I remember that, if my timeline is correct with this. And so you're trying to figure, okay, what do you do after this? Sir Alex is going to retire. It was a shock to all of us. We thought he'd be there forever, but you know, he had been at the time he'd been gaffer longer than I've been alive. And it's just this is all I knew. Like, wow, like, this is really sad. I understand the logic behind hiring Moyes. Obviously, he had been at Everton for over a decade as well, so you have that longevity, that process going in there. Where I think David Moyes made his biggest mistake was sacking all of the United staff and bringing in his own staff.
Agreed.
I think that was Moyes' biggest mistake, personally, looking back. I think he should have kept someone for continuity, because it's like, okay, yeah, well, these people knew how it worked before. You're trying to come in and reinvent the wheel and everything like that right off the back. That was not successful. That was not a smart move at all. I still think Ed Woodward was an even bigger mistake that United made as a whole.
100%.
Especially when, like, you come out and, like, I think one of his first interviews where he comes out and says something like Manchester United can do things in the transfer market other clubs only wish they could do, which basically told all the other clubs right off the back, yeah, we can start overcharging for these players. If Man United wants to come in, start putting ridiculous fees on it, and they'll pay it. And didn't have proper scouting. Like,
and we did,
tried to replace.
Sorry, carry on.
Like, tried to replace, and I'm gonna use an Ibrahimovic quote with this. Tried to replace Ferraris with Fiats. Try to look for bargain things, but then still try to think that you can just go by the name alone and that's enough, and not realizing that you have to perform on the pitch as well to get these deals and whatnot. Yeah, it was great at first when they were still getting the Champions League money and revenue and things like this, but it's not happening anymore, and it kind of got to a point where you have to start bringing in more investment, and it's not coming, and because you only get that by winning on the pitch. And it seems they weren't willing to do that part, so it makes sense now for Glazers to sell now before and get as much value as they can now before it starts diminishing in value.
100%. And I think to your point, around, things that, other clubs can't do, 100%, we had an opportunity to sign Fellaini for Moyes for what, 20 million on his release clause. We waited until the release clause elapsed, and then we paid 30 million for him, or 28 million for
And
him.
wasn't it? And wasn't we were also supposed to sign Leighton Baines at the same time for cheaper than we paid him for Fellaini? If I remember that correct too. Yeah.
Exactly. It was ridiculous. But anyways, hopefully that's the end of that era.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Tom Brady, Cristiano Ronaldo, big hitters for the Glazers. Tell us more. I mean, Tom Brady for basically with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And how's it in America? I mean, obviously MLS, Ronaldo almost coming to the States. And how's the MLS there? And obviously the football and Tom Brady. What's the effect of Tom Brady?
And just to understand the Glazers thinking a bit, Devin,
Yes,
and maybe you can elaborate. They bring in these two GOATs, right? They bring in Tom Brady from an American football perspective, and then they bring in Cristiano Ronaldo, and they think he's going to revive Manchester United. Tom Brady goes on, he wins Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Holy Grail, the Super Bowl. Cristiano Ronaldo has a good impact, but doesn't get to that. So do you think, did the Glazers think because they did it with Brady, they can do it with Ronaldo? And what's been the reaction of, that type of move from the Tampa Bay supporters as well as Manchester United supporters out of the US?
Well, I'll start with the Buccaneers first. For a while, it was pretty much, I told you what the opinion of most Bucs fans was before Tom Brady arrived. They were very cheap. They were kind of just going along. It didn't matter if they had put out a good team or not. The money was still coming in. There's still money because the NFL owners share revenue, so money was coming in regardless whether they put a good product out or not. They bring in Tom Brady. All of a sudden, Tampa Bay starts winning. Like we had nicknames. We called it Champa Bay. Because our hockey team also won the Stanley Cup that year, then our baseball team made it to the World Series. So and our hockey and our NFL team had just won the Super Bowl. So it was great. Like everybody was coming here. Of course, it sent all the prices for homes skyrocketing as I'm looking to buy a home right now because everybody wants to be here. So that was a little bit of either a positive or a negative depending on how you look at that. But one thing that they made a big mistake on is Tom Brady actually, he went and would have meetings with specific players in the off seasons and whatnot, try to get to know the players, spend time with them, figure out what clicked, build that chemistry, especially with his wide receivers to catch the ball, figure out what point did he want to release the ball, what was a sign that they're ready for something like that, just to build some chemistry. Ronaldo, I think that was purely marketing. I think the Ronaldo deal was just purely marketing. It was he wanted to leave Juventus at the time. My guess is that George Mendes reached out to United and said, okay, let's get him back. And then they said no at first. Then I still believe the city rumor was made up just to force United's hand. And then the Glazer stepped in, and this is my opinion. Glazer stepped in and said, we can bring him back. He's the best player of all time. Think about the shirt sales. Think about what it's going to do for profits. Think about how much more money it can give us. Not so much more about what could happen on the field. Or maybe they thought, he can be the one that turns it around even at his age.
Yep.
And so, but I think it was more about marketing than the performance on the pitch.
Because
the shirt sales were crazy because I think it was Adidas at the time was complaining to United that the shirt sales were not good. Because this is in the middle of the Love United Hate Glazer protests, not buying the memorabilia, none of that stuff. We all knew how that went.
Exactly, and CR7 comes in and shirt sales shoot
through the roof. Yes,
exactly. But I mean, CR7 coming in obviously had a bit of a positive impact in his first season. Right, comes in most Premier League Player of the Month awards, most Manchester United Player of the Month awards, top goal scorer for the club. Pulls us out of games that we look, totally out of it, and comes out clutch. Some games like the Tottenham hat-trick comes to mind, etc. But then second season rolls on. Whatever personal issues Ronaldo had, missed preseason, and then the clashing with Eric Ten Hag. I saw you speaking about this with the BBC around Ronaldo leaving. So, just your thoughts on how that played out, and do you still consider Ronaldo a club legend after all of it?
No matter what anybody says, you can't take away all the accolades he won at United. He won every single trophy. How many players have actually won a Ballon d'Or playing for United? I think 4.
Yep.
So he's an elite company. He will always be a United legend. But let's also not forget, Roy Keane did not leave under the best circumstances either. And fans still sing his name now. I think right now it's going to take time. I still wish he had left the club under better circumstances. But he's still a club legend to me. I still have his signed shirt, all that as well too.
Amazing.
He's still the best player that I got to see in person. That doesn't get taken away. What I don't like about the way he left, though, is I feel like this can become now a precedent now, which I started seeing with a few players. Like, for example, the way Lisandro Martinez left Ajax to come to United. I am so happy we got him, but I don't like the way that he just completely burned his bridges at Ajax either to get there. Even though Ajax was kind of like rubbing their feet on the ground saying, no, you're not leaving. And so he just starts trashing everybody, doing things like that. Ronaldo going out and publicly throwing everybody under the bus. Well, I should say the things he said beforehand, they were right about the Glazers not investing in the ground, things like that. Nobody would have disagreed with that.
Exactly.
But it's when you flat out say that you don't respect the current manager like that, something has to happen. And clearly right now, Ten Hag is winning that battle.
Yeah.
But I do think it sets a precedent now. If a player wants to leave now, all they have to do is put out some public interview and trash the manager, and people will and that's it now. Which is it's a bad precedent to set, in my opinion.
100%.
But at the end of the day, he is still a club legend.
Yeah,
Awesome.
And a GOAT in my eyes, right? The GOAT, irrespective of whatever happens. Yes, we respect other players like Leo Messi, and I think he's one of the all-time best players out there. But for me, Cristiano Ronaldo, just does it on a different level. So we'll always have respect for him.
Devin, you just touched now on the manager, Eric Ten Hag. He's come in, he's brought discipline, high-level professionalism from the players, high demands. I personally feel that, wow, this is the manager for the future. As a ever Manchester United, how competitive and how far do you feel Ten Hag taking this giant club to the next few years?
My belief is that we will be title if we give him the time that he deserves, because there's this new trend going around in football where managers they have to win instantly or they're sacked. It's this new trend that I do not like. If you give him the time, you give him 5 seasons, there's going to be a Premier League title in there. I can firmly believe that right now. You look at it right now, this season right now, people are starting to say, yeah, United could be potential title contenders, especially if we win tomorrow and against Arsenal. My belief right now is that I'm at the point where I'm cautiously optimistic. Because my point being is we have not even played half the season yet. A lot can happen. My biggest issue that I have right now with the side is the depth.
100%.
Especially because if you figure if Casemiro, Rashford, or Martinez gets injured, our season is probably derailed. And on top of that, we're still competing in every single competition that we're in. And I think we're the only English club that's doing that. So the side is going to be stretched.
Stretch these limits, yeah.
And we've also just seen Donny van de Beek ruled out for the season with a knee injury. So unfortunately, injuries are going to happen. These were times you've said, okay, yeah, we have a match for you coming up. Be ready to play in this match. He's coming down. You got to start figuring out who's next man up. Maybe they're not ready, but that's all you have. Because what happened in the past, especially under Ole, was you played the same players over and over and over again. They got burnt out. So that is what
up as well, yeah.
But at the same, I really believe that United can win the Carabao Cup, though.
No, definitely.
I believe that he should prioritize that right now and see what happens with the league afterwards. But you need a trophy. You need a trophy to start off. Because I think maybe it's okay. You have Arsenal and City. I would be ecstatic if we win those matches. I'd be ecstatic, not taking that away. But I believe just making sure that you finish Champions League. Champions League is a top priority. Finish in top 4 or win Europa League. Either or. and get a piece of silverware in there, and the trophy drop right off the back in your first season. Even when you haven't even had time to bring in all the players you want, and in your first season you're winning a trophy. How long did it take Sir Alex to win a trophy?
Yep, 4 years.
Through that.
So
4.5 years, I think it was, something like that. Yeah. So it's like you come right back and you're ready to put there, and you're seeing a change in the style. You're seeing the way how people are playing already. Players who threw previous managers under the bus. Well, some of them are gone, but some of them are still there. And
but I think the time is short-lived. Yeah, the time is going to be short-lived. If they don't toe the line, they're probably out.
Yeah, no.
But what I also think, and this is going back to the Ronaldo thing, I think that with Ten Hag laying down the law like that, even with a 5-time Ballon d'Or winner, that kind of said to the rest of the team, fall in line, or get lost,
or out.
100%
agreed.
And so that kind of helped him out, because I mean, it's, you look at, like, I'm trying to think now. Pep did it with Joe Hart.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a Liverpool player, because I am not going to put Steven Gerrard in that category. As much as I absolutely hate Liverpool, Steven Gerrard is a legend. So, but he kind of had to see him out at the end of his career. He did it gracefully, but said, all right, this is the way how it is going forward. But I do think what Pep did with Joe Hart laid down the law as well, too, because that's a legend. He won multiple Premier Leagues, things like that. Didn't fit the system. The only thing Joe Hart didn't do compared to Ronaldo was bash the club.
Yeah. You know, and similarly, with Mikel Arteta doing it with Aubameyang, that really started the Arteta bus, and they're moving, man. So I mean, you have to be, as a manager, you have to be courageous at certain times and firm and fair, right? So yeah, brilliant stuff.
So Devon, on that, you mentioned a few key points, and I think we'll close on this point for this first segment. So fans, just remember, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification. And Devon's not going away. We are going to be doing a second segment with Devon, where we go into his all-time 11. But Devon, you touched on a key point. You know, the depth in the squad is kind of lacking, and 1-2 injuries, and we probably the entire season derails. Coming into January was a good time for probably Manchester United to dip in and support Ten Hag where they needed to. But obviously, because of the financial issues, we owe 350 million in unpaid transfer fees. There's all of the rising debt, the stadium fees, etc. So the Glazers have no money to invest in Manchester United at the moment. And it's seen us lose out to Liverpool and Chelsea, respectively, for the likes of Gakpo and Felix. And we had to opt for, kind of a stopgap in Wout Weghorst. Do you think bringing in someone like Wout Weghorst helps Ten Hag? And do you see us, for the season finishing in the top 4, getting Champions League and finishing off with that one piece of silverware that you say that we need?
If my belief right now, Ten Hag has not given me a reason to doubt him yet. If Ten Hag believes in Weghorst, I believe in Weghorst. I believe in Ten Hag. On top of that, how many times have we seen it where a cross goes in the box and it's overhit for somebody, and it's so frustrating? I don't think you have an excuse now if you overhit somebody who's 6'6".
Exactly.
So you can call it a stopgap. You can call it what it is. This is my hope, that he turns out to be another Henrik Larsson for us.
Oh, yes.
And I've got a feeling about it because he played very well in the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, everybody saw that set piece goal against Argentina. It's going to be funny. I just think it's going to be funny to see Martinez and Weghorst now with the same team after that.
Oh yes,
I'm still laughing about that, but yeah, I mean, and you know what? If he's at a good age, he's 30. So it's all right. It's okay. Your football IQ should be pretty high up there now. You know how to use your body. And one other thing that I like about Weghorst, which I don't think people pay enough attention to, but all you see right now is his goals or assists. Have you seen the way that he presses?
Okay.
And Ten Hag loves a player who presses. So you can imagine adding that into the side as well. I wish he would have been available for this weekend, but unfortunately he's not. As far as top 4 in trophy, I think Carabao Cup is a priority right now.
The one.
I mean, you have you have what, two matches between, well, I think two Premier League matches, and then you have the semi-final, and there's an FA Cup match in there as well too. If I'm going to be realistic here, if between our next two Premier League matches we get 4 points, I am happy.
Love it.
And because I want a piece of silver. We need to end this trophy drop right off the back.
100%.
My next thing as well on the top four finishes, it's the same answer I'm telling I've gotten asked this a lot, and my answer is this: I am cautiously optimistic.
Love it.
Because the injuries are still my concern.
So Devon, 4 points.
More depth, I would have said yes.
4 points in the next Premiership. Your next two Premiership matches. I hope it's a win against City.
Yeah, you would see that.
And a draw against Arsenal. Right? Is that your 4 points? That's your 4 points, right?
So yeah, I mean, guys, you've heard it here first on Gunning to Old Trafford. Or not first, Devon's given this here, but I mean, you've heard it exclusively here with Devon. Devon, before we end off the last one, I know I said the last one was the last question, but I think it would be amiss of me not to ask you. Manchester Derby, 7:30 kickoff in Tampa, Florida, 2:30 kickoff in South Africa. Devon, what's your prediction? Manchester United, Manchester City at Old Trafford. We lost 6-3 the last time out at the Etihad. Are we taking revenge, and are we coming away with the win?
I think a draw. I think a draw is very realistic for this game. Their midfield right now is not playing well together. Teams are kind of starting to figure out how to stop Erling Haaland, but I still think he'll get an opportunity or two, and it's what our team does in that game. I can tell you the reason. Like I think that Mahrez is going to score in this game because Mahrez is playing very well. I think the focus is going to be so much on De Bruyne and Rodri that Mahrez is going to have a couple opportunities. So that's something that I'm a little bit concerned about. I think Rashford's form is absolutely phenomenal right now. I actually have him captain this week over Haaland. And that's also yes,
I would like,
and that's also due to the double game week that they have now, especially with Crystal Palace coming up. But I have a feeling that Rashford's form is going to continue. He's going to score at least once or twice in this game. I think Mahrez is going to score, and Mahrez is going to score once. And then unfortunately, I think Haaland's going to score as well in this game. What I think is going to be a key battle is the midfield, and I've been debating my midfield this whole time. The only thing that I truly believe right now is Eriksen cannot play this game. He was exposed in the last game, and if we do that again, it will be a repeat of that all over again. What I would like to see in this game, I would like to see Fred and Casemiro, and I want Fred. His only job is Kevin De Bruyne.
Yes,
that is it. That is it. That is it. I want him attached to the hip. I want if he goes to the bathroom, he's there right next to him. I want it to be like. Do you remember when
Herrera against?
Herrera against Sanchez and Hazard. And I was going to go one further back to probably the best performance I ever saw of it. Remember what Park did to Pirlo?
Oh yes! What a performance!
That is what I want, Fred. That if I'm Ten Hag, I'm saying watch this, and this is your job.
And that was
I don't need to say anything. Just watch this game and watch what he did. That is your thing. Let Casemiro do the rest of it.
And that was one of Sir Alex's biggest regrets, not playing Park in the Champions League final.
Correct.
In Denmark, Messi in the midfield.
In 09, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But Devon, it's been
amazing.
An absolute honor and pleasure to chat to you about Manchester United. Hopefully we can do this more often. And it'll be good. You know, Devon, we need to invite you on one of our Instagram lives as well, so that our Instagram community also gets to know who you are. That will be really amazing. But guys, please don't forget, this is just segment 1 of a 2-part series that we're doing with Devon. The next one drops, in a couple of days. We're going to be doing Devon's all-time Manchester United 11, and you definitely don't want to miss that one. So please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and you can find Devon on Instagram. We'll drop Devon's link in the video as well, and we'll share it on Insta. But Abdul, I think that was amazing.
Amazing stuff. Devon, that was absolutely amazing. It was an education. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And what we do when we finish off a segment at Gunning to Old Trafford, and we want you to join us, we go 3, 2, 1. We are Gunning to Old Trafford. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's
Perfect.
go. 3, 2, 1. We are
We are
Gunning
gunning to
gunning
Old
to Old
Trafford.
Trafford.
Thank you,
sir.
Devin.
Bye-bye.
Speak soon.